What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got some football focus. Please excuse me if I'm a little bit low energy, but the Pittsburgh Steelers just finished their Week 1 first game of the season, home opener of the 2023 NFL season, playing the San Francisco 49ers, and we got unexpectedly drubbed. I think that a lot of people know how good San Fran is, how good they were last year, how big of a role Purdy got on, and Nick Bosa being dominant, and the trade, of course, for Christian McCaffrey, all of the quarterback offseason moves. San Fran was coming in here as the defending best defense in the NFL and one of the best overall teams. So I don't want to get completely off the beam too quickly as far as the Steeler hype train. But this game definitely taught us that preseason doesn't matter all that much. We came in, especially here in Pittsburgh, but I think even around the league, there was some buzz, not just with being 3-0 in the preseason, but all the roster additions, how well we drafted, how good our free agency was, how many guys we brought in to fill all the gaps, how much upheaval at certain positions we had coming into the season, how efficient the starting offense was, 5 for 5, 5 touchdowns. I think everybody was looking at us going, this could be a breakout team this year. And the 49ers put us flat on our asses and showed us that we have to earn it, that Week 1 is not going to be handed to us quite that easily. Pittsburgh comes out, goes 3-and-out on the first drive. San Fran comes down with a nice long touchdown drive. Second drive, Pickett comes out and throws an interception. We'll get into that. But the Niners come down and score a field goal, so it's 10-0 immediately, and they never really look back on us. Really, this was a tale of a team that had nothing positive to speak of really in the first half until the last drive. Up until the touchdown drive at the end of the first half, I think it was about 6 minutes left in the first half, Pittsburgh had 0 first downs and 1 total yard. 6 minutes in the second quarter. I think it was winding down to about 3 minutes in the second quarter. First half almost gone, 1 yard, no first downs. Up until the touchdown drive to end the half, the Pittsburgh went into the half down 20-7 after finding something positive. And then the 49ers come back out with a long Christian McCaffrey touchdown run and pretty much put the game away at 27-7. Final score is 30-7. Pittsburgh only scores that 1 touchdown drive at the end of the first half and nothing more. Let's get into a couple stats and we'll talk about why this was such a disaster for us. Kenny Pickett, 31 of 46, 232 yards, and most of those yards were in garbage time. 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Where am I even getting the 1 touchdown from? I don't even see it here. Okay, yeah, Kenny Pickett, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Pat Freiermuth scored. Okay. The 2 interceptions, the first one that Pickett threw on the second drive, that was a Deontay Johnson slip. Johnson was on the outside one-on-one. Pickett kind of threw up a 50-50 ball. Johnson slipped, so the defender got the interception. So more so on Deontay, but it still wasn't a great read. It was just kind of a take-a-chance read. Deontay falls. Guy gets the pick. Second pick came from a really bad read by Pickett trying to force the ball downfield. Went off the hands of Fred Warner, who should have gotten the pick, and then went into the hands of Afunga, who got the pick. So if it wasn't picked by one guy, it was going to get picked by the other. Really bad day for Kenny Pickett. Again, the 232 doesn't look that bad, but most of that was after the game was already decided. A couple nice looks downfield to a few different receivers, but overall, Pickett just did not look great in this game, was throwing a lot of balls behind guys, was just off target, throwing the ball low a lot to the ground. A couple guys got some nice catches off the ground. I think Pickens got one that was super low. McFarland caught one on third down that was super off the ground. A couple of those, but yeah, low, behind, throwing it into double coverage a couple times, throwing up some 50-50 balls downfield. I didn't like Pickett's day here at all. He looked very nervous to me, and this is going to go with our other big negative for the offense, the offensive line. The line just did not look good to me, and there wasn't like one particular guy, like how I would call out Dan Moore and Chuks for last year. Dan Moore did not look good. Chuks did get a penalty today, a holding penalty. Dan Moore did get beat quite a bit for, I think, 2 of the 3 sacks that the one player got were on Dan Moore, so he didn't look great, but I don't think any of the 5 really did today. I saw James Daniels get beat on a few. Sayamalu had a penalty as well. Lots of penalties. The line in general just was pushed in the backfield a lot. Pickett was a little slow at making decisions. He wasn't getting the ball out super fast, but the Niners D-line was in their backfield a lot. And again, Nick Bosa is one of the best defensive players in the NFL. The 49ers defense was the best all of last year and played great today. So I'm not saying it's entirely on our offense, but we really played poorly for the most part in this game. Najee Harris, 6 carries, 31 yards. That does look good on paper, being over 5 yards a carry, but then you find out that 25 of those 31 yards came on one really good run for Najee. Got around the edge, leaped over a guy, and then drew a penalty out of bounds. So 25 yards of the 31 coming on one play. You take those away, it is just 5 carries for 6 yards. And again, a lot of that comes from Pittsburgh abandoning the run game too. I'm not going to give Matt Canada a pass here. I don't think he's the reason for how badly we played today. I think it's more personnel and the line and Pickett. I'm going to blame all those things before Canada this time. You guys know I'm no Canada defender, but I do think abandoning the run game entirely is really a bad call. Najee had the one great run, and that was it. 6 for 31. Jaylen Warren just 3 carries for 6 yards, so he didn't get any opportunities really either. So not really enough run plays called. No support by the offensive line, so the run game gave us nothing, which put the ball in Pickett's hands more, and like I said, he didn't play well, so that's your problem on offense. Defensively, one guy stands out, the player of the game for us, TJ Watt. Stop me if you've heard that before. TJ Watt in this game, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, a batted ball, and a tackle for a loss. What a game, TJ Watt. I wish he had anybody around him whatsoever. TJ getting off the edge very nicely. Both of his forced fumbles were on sacks. One was recovered by Brock Purdy. The other Watt recovered himself. He also got a batted ball. Isaiah Loudermilk got a batted ball as well. At least we're getting our hands up around the line of scrimmage. That's a positive. Tackle-wise, we had 2 guys stand out for tackles. Quan Alexander, some of those were on guys that were catching the ball on him, but he had 8 tackles overall. He was around the ball a lot. Quan's a high-energy guy, and I think he has a high ceiling this year, but he had 8 tackles today. Landon Roberts I liked a little bit of. He looked really good, especially in the run game. Looked faster than expected, just like he did in the preseason. 5 tackles for him. I like the way he played overall. A couple guys made a couple of plays, but just not nearly enough penetration besides Watt. Highsmith got a couple of plays. Sorry for the plane in the background. Highsmith got a couple of plays. DeMarvin Leal got a few tackles. Loudermilk got the one batted ball. Ogunjobi got 1 or 2 tackles. There were some guys making tackles, but overall, I don't like the lack of penetration besides Watt. Cam Hayward left the game early and did not return, so he wasn't out there for 3/4 of the game. That is part of it as well, but nobody else was getting back in there. A lot of the depth guys weren't getting in there as much. We did see 1 or 2 plays out of the third-string D-end, and Herbig also got in there for a couple of plays as well, but on the line, there wasn't a lot of penetration. Christian McCaffrey had like 130 yards and a touchdown, including the one long touchdown run where he just broke through the line to score. Pass defense was not much better either. Brandon Ayuk abused us for like 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, which comes to a lot of bad days on defense. I'm going to say our biggest 3 negatives on defense, especially in the passing situations, were Patrick Peterson, Levi Wallace, and DeMonte KZ. I don't like the game out of any of these 3 guys today. Now, Patrick Peterson did have 2 batted balls, or pass deflections, I should say. He deflected 2 passes in the middle of the field. One was on the tight end, I believe, Kittle, and one was on, I think it was on Ayuk. So he did knock down 2 balls. He also had pretty good coverage on the second Brandon Ayuk touchdown. It was a 50-50 ball that Purdy threw up. Ayuk made a really nice tight catch and tap his toes before going out of bounds. Really nice catch by Ayuk. That was more so Ayuk being great than Peterson being bad on that play. But on the first touchdown, Peterson got beat really bad by Ayuk. He went and faked an outside step and took an inside step out of the slot and really made Peterson fall behind on that play. Overall, I don't like what I saw from Peterson today. Again, he had tight coverage on the one play and he had a few batted balls, but I think he was a step slow today, and I'm not encouraged by how many times we saw him on the receiving end of completed passes today, especially on Ayuk. Levi Wallace, I'm even more discouraged by because he was getting beat, I think, more so in zones. It was more so some zone plays. A couple of times Deebo Samuel got him on some things. He also just didn't look very good in the middle of the field. He also missed a few tackles, including that long touchdown run. It was like a 4-yard play that McCaffrey could have gotten tackled on, but he spun out of Levi Wallace's tackle. So Wallace wasn't great in tackling or in coverage today. Big negative for him. I gave Demonte KZ a negative as well. Mostly him getting beat was underneath in the zones. 49ers were doing a good job picking apart our zones today. Not that the man stuff helped because Wallace and Peterson, for the most part, again, weren't good. But when we went to zone, they were going over the top of our linebackers and underneath our safety, KZ. I didn't see Minka getting beat on that too much, but it seemed like KZ was slow coming down to make some plays. So again, being a zone, that's not entirely his responsibility, but the Niners found the right spot, and KZ seemed late getting down on several plays. So overall, again, offensively, Pickett looked really bad. The line didn't give much to do. The running game never really got a chance to get going with just like 9 carries on the whole day. Play calling wasn't great. Couple receivers slipping down on the plays. Defensively, weren't getting penetration to tackle the running backs. Weren't getting any quarterback pressure aside from TJ Watt. And then the coverage wasn't great. So really not much positive to speak about. Actually, our best offensive player for the entire first half, and the only one that did anything offensively for us in the first half until that last drive, was a guy who wasn't even playing on offense. It was Anthony McFarland with his kick returns. His kick returns were the only positive plays for us pretty much the entire first half till the last drive, and that was he had 3 positive kick returns on the day, and that's pretty much it. Calvin Austin only had 1 that he returned, and that was after he let a ball bounce and then picked it up behind him and ran for a yard or 2. So even Austin on special teams didn't look too great. I was encouraged by a couple of the receivers making plays, but it was mostly in garbage time. Allen Robinson, again, the only Steeler over 50 yards receiving today, and that was 5 for 64 for Allen Robinson. Deontay had a couple nice plays. Had his biggest play where he caught a hook and then ran around and got some yards after the catch, but then he pulled his hamstring. Hopefully it wasn't a tear. He got back up and moved off, so I don't think he tore anything. But he pulled something and was out for the rest of the game. Pickens made a few nice plays, including one that was a bad throw out of bounds. It was well out of bounds, but it was a beautiful one-handed snag over his back shoulder. Pickens continues to do Pickens things, but that one didn't count anyway. Freiermuth with a nice short touchdown in a small proximity window. That was nice, but overall we have to start faster, start earlier, have better balance in play calling, have better throws, and just, everything needs to improve. Better protection, better penetration on defense, better coverage on defense. It all went wrong today. Another negative is Presley Harvin on special teams. I'm not going to highlight Boswell. He only had 1 kick for the whole day. We had 7 points. He had 1 extra point that he hit. But Presley Harvin, 6 punts, 254 yards. That is 42.3 yards per punt. Only one of those 6 punts inside the 20. Not a good day for Presley Harvin. So basically, this looks like how we started last season. Came out of a decent preseason last year. I think went 3-0 in preseason last year, and then came out and kind of laid an egg for the first 6 to 8 games of the season. Our first half of last year was not good. It came out of the last 9 games of last year, went 8-1 or 7-2 maybe, and came out really solid. Had a great preseason this year after all the roster additions, but then came out in the regular season and laid a complete egg, losing 30-7 and looking bad in all 3 phases of the game, minus 1 really good offensive drive and a couple good sacks from TJ Watt. So not much to hang our hats on positively here, except for the fact that it was only game 1 of the season, and we did play against one of the best teams in the league. So it can't always be as rusty or as tough an opponent as it was this week. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments below what stood out to you in a positive way, who stood out to you in a negative way, and what are you looking forward to seeing improve next week. Please like, share, and subscribe this channel if you want more Steelers deep dives, game previews, player previews, things like that. Tell me in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next week.